Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's event, Profiting with Personalized Mobile Product Cases. My name is Jimmy Lamb with Sawgrass Technologies, and I want to welcome everybody in for another interesting discussion on some things that can help you grow your business and bring in some new customers, reach some new marketplaces. So we got a lot of great information for you today. The subject. So let's turn our attention and get rolling here, because today we have a very special guest with us. We've invited ChromaLuxe to participate, and specifically with ChromaLuxe, we have Jessica Pantatello, who is going to join me for the presentation today on profiting with personalized mobile product cases. Jessica, welcome to the event.
Thank you so much, and I'm glad to hear that everyone is on the line. Thanks so much for joining us today.
We're going to have a great event because I've been talking to Jessica a little bit offline about some of the great products that ChromaLuxe is introducing, and there's just a lot of nice, new, neat things out there that are going to help you along, and that's what we're going to focus on. And Jessica's going to provide information, as well as me, on some of the different ways we can go with this. So let's get rolling. So how do you set yourself apart? You know, the reality out there is when we are trying to grow our business, that we need to find a niche, something a little different about us from all of our competition. Because let's face it, anybody that's in the sublimation business can sublimate mouse pads and coffee mugs, performance apparel, plaques, signs, photo panels. I mean, the list is long, but everybody can do it. How do you stand out in front of your customers and separate yourself from the competition? What do you have that's new, unique, and different from everybody else? You see, that's one of the keys to growing your business. You know, you don't want to be in a price war. You want to be the leader out there showing things that other people haven't thought about yet. And the key to growth is that innovation. You know, I spent years building a business where every year I wanted to find something new and different to pursue, something a little different, new product, new surface, new technique, whatever, something different that would take me out of my so-called rut and take me into some other areas, because there's always other areas where you can go. Now, I know a lot of people get wrapped up in, hey, this is what I do every day. I do a really good job, and everybody respects me for the job that I do because this is what I do. But you got to be careful. I mean, if you box yourself in and you're not willing to change as the market changes, you may find yourself left behind, and that's not what you want to do. To grow your business, you got to be innovative. That's going to be key. And part of that is being proactive, not reactive. Because too many times we get on board too late. I know you've probably done that. I have. You know, you waited until you saw something that was popular out there, then you decided to carry it, and guess what? Everybody else is carrying it too. So you really weren't all that innovative after all. The key is finding out what's new and hot and getting it out there in front of your customer before everybody else does. Just like that old adage, the early bird gets the worm, which is kind of icky sounding when you think about it, okay? But in terms of marketing, you want to be there first. And if you can be there first and get it in front of the customers and get them excited about it, they're going to purchase it, and then you become the go-to person for whatever that new hot item is. And that's where we want to focus today. What's new and hot? So what's hot for 2013? Personalized mobile device cases. Absolutely, without a doubt. This is something that has been released for, you know, over a year, but it's really coming of age now, and a lot of popularity there, and this is the hot new thing, and it's an expanding marketplace. So let's talk about the mobile marketplace. Jessica, you guys at ChromaLuxe, I mean, you've really been putting a lot of emphasis into some of these new types of products. What are some of the things you're seeing going on in the mobile marketplace with sublimation and phone products and those types of things?
Well, I'm glad that you asked. We actually just recently came back from exhibiting at 2 electronic shows, one being CES, the Consumer Electronics Show out in Las Vegas about a month ago, actually.
Huge.
And then most recently out at Macworld, which is a huge place to talk about all things Apple. So the number one thing we heard in our booth from both of these shows, from end users, was, wow, this is a fantastic gift. And it was a really nice opportunity for us to be able to talk to these end users and say, hey, you can put any digital image you want on these. The personalization is absolutely endless with ChromaLuxe because we do produce them blank. We also provide templates. We also give you the opportunity to get the exact same quality of our traditional ChromaLuxe panels on the mobile devices.
Yeah, and that's an important aspect because traditionally the ChromaLuxe photo-based products just deliver an astounding degree of color clarity and resolution, and so now to be able to put that onto the phone, that's pretty neat because people can, here's the funny thing, is the ChromaLuxe can handle a far better picture than most mobile phones can actually take. So that's kind of a funny aspect to me, it's ironic. But, definitely we start looking at the numbers, and I put some numbers on the screen for everybody to look at, but just to give people an idea of how big this marketplace is. We're looking at approximation of about 1 billion units of the so-called smartphones in use worldwide at the end of the third quarter of 2012. 1 billion. I mean, that's a huge number. As I tell people, how would you like to have 10% of that business? How would you like to have 1%? What about like 0.0001%? I mean, that's just how big a number that is. And then as you mentioned, Apple and Macworld. Apple alone delivered 27 million new iPhones during the third quarter of 2012, and 27 million. I mean, that's an incredible number, of products out there. Again, wouldn't you like to have 0.001% of that? And you know what? It's even more interesting is Apple is now number 2 in terms of platform. Android platform has surpassed it. But as we all know, the nice thing about iPhones is they're all the same. You go look at Androids and you got like 50 different versions, which makes it a little challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just as important, though, as the phones, we're seeing the tablets are really, taking the industry by storm. It all started with the iPad, and then we had all these other different products now are emerging as well. And, in fact, we're seeing this, a lot of people are starting to use their tablets instead of their laptops. They're lighter, easier to carry around. And the last report I found was 47 million plus tablets in the USA. So, as we say here, there are literally millions of potential customers who own mobile devices. I mean, without a doubt. The market is there. It's up to everyone else to be able to go out and figure out how to capture that market.
Right, and with that, I'm going to add to that. With the ChromaLuxe, I found a lot in the marketplace that companies will either cater to only Apple or only to Android. And actually at ChromaLuxe, we have a combination of both of the platforms. So not only are you able to capture the Apple folks, but you can also capture those Android folks as well. Jimmy just pulled up a slide right here that shows all of our market-ready devices here at ChromaLuxe. We've got the iPhone 4, 4S, iPhone 5, the iPad, which fits all of the iPads, I believe, the last 2 and 3 versions, the iPad mini, the Galaxy S3, the Samsung Note 2, and the Note 10.1. We actually just launched the 10.1, so that's a brand new market-ready device for us.
Yeah, and that is important because me personally, though I have devices, none of mine have I on them. So you know what? Being that you're doing a broader range of products is pretty important because I know there are some other companies that have done some iPhone covers, but that's where it ended. And the reality is you need to have some of that variety to be able to have a broader reach for your customer base. So let's take a little closer look. This is your listing here, but I know we're going to take a little closer look at some of the individual devices so that people really get a good concept of what it's all about, and also how your Fashion Frames program works, which is pretty interesting too, because I like the way you built this to where you have the ability to keep customers coming back for more, per se. So looking, starting here at the iPhone 5, which is the most recent one out there, your Fashion Frames are unique because you have the frame for the phone, but then you got that insert in there. You want to talk a little bit more about how that works?
Sure. I think the benefit of the inserts is that you buy your one case and you keep that for as long as you'd like to. And then what you really do is you upgrade and really get customers coming back with the interchangeable inserts. So you can either sell those separately or sell them in a pack. They're really interchangeable, and it lets you upsell multiple inserts during the first purchase. And they can also use these as gifts as well. So it's not only something they can use themselves, but it's something that someone else could give them possibly as well.
Yeah, and I like the fact that when you have the multiple inserts, that means you can show, like, we'll say, multiple personalities, whatever suits you, the season, the day of the week, or whatever else.
Absolutely. For instance, I live in Kentucky. I'm a Wildcat fan, but I live in Louisville, so I have to be really careful what I have on my phone depending on what city I'm in.
Yes, I can understand that aspect.
Yes.
Well, along the same line, of course, you do have it for the older phone, the iPhone 4 and 4S, and working on the same principle. You have the frame, you have the insert.
Absolutely. And one of the things, too, that I mentioned a little bit before is this isn't limited just to photographs. You have some on here that has a piece of fine art that's been digitally captured, and then we also have some professional photography as well. So really, what you can put on the phone as far as your digital image is absolutely endless. And that's a real perk for the end consumer, because they can not only get one picture with just maybe a photo shoot that they've taken, but something like a monogram. And I think we have a sample of that a little bit later underneath the
Yes.
how to personalize your phone. But there's so many options that you can really, really capitalize on the upsell.
And then we have the Galaxy, which, the Galaxy is an Android platform, very popular there in the marketplace. A lot of Galaxies being sold. I mean, it's definitely one of the top-selling Android phones out there. And again, it uses the same basic setup of being able to have the interchangeable fashion frames, so that you can, again, set the mood, per se. Or, you can change your allegiance to sports teams. If you weren't sure in the Super Bowl and you had a Ravens logo and you had a 49ers logo, whoever won, you could put the right one in.
Absolutely.
Or you could have switched back and forth as you went through the game, So, hey, gives you flexibility there. A Galaxy Note 2, another one that you had mentioned. And, going back to the ChromaLuxe difference, because there are some other systems out there. But a nice aspect of yours is we're able to take that HD insert and go over and press it on a flat press and then insert it, because I know I've worked with another type of case where it was sort of three-dimensional. I mean, it was a complete unit with the sides and everything, and you had to put it in a special clamp holder jig type of thing to hold it in place, and there were some challenges in trying to actually sublimate it. This, it's easy. Just pull it out, do it, and done.
Absolutely. I mean, and I think that helps significantly with the quality of the imagery production, personally. I've seen a lot of the 3D cases, especially on the rounded edges, where the image is just absolutely distorted.
Right.
So the flatness absolutely helps with the image clarity.
And, of course, the quality of the image.
The same coating
Yes.
that we do for our traditional ChromaLuxe panels. They're actually antimicrobial, so that actually helps to protect you against unwanted germs for the lifetime of the product. So, think about all the people that will be touching a phone. I think that is an added upsell.
That's a little scary, because I never really thought about a phone that way. So now it makes me not want to, loan my phone out to anyone. But that's interesting. Antimicrobial. I didn't know that. That's something new to me. Okay. So you have a lot of things here that set you apart. You'll be able to get those great photorealistic images. You have it's UV resistant. Now that's an interesting aspect. UV resistant. Can you touch a little bit more on that? Because traditionally sublimation has not really been branded as UV resistant. So obviously you've got some new development there to be able to give it a little higher degree of UV resistance.
We have an additive into our coatings, and really what that's going to do is help the best image reproduction that you can. We want it to be best in class, top quality, so that's why we've added that in there, as well as the scratch resistance. And I don't know if everyone knows this, but it's incredibly chemical resistant too, so if you spill nail polish or acetone
Or beer.
Or spray paint on the back of your phone case, you can remove that damage
Cool.
with either an acetone or something like that. You can remove it, which is nice. I wouldn't recommend spilling it while it's on your phone, of course, but it is very, very durable.
Rats. I was going to ask you, it seems like my kids keep going swimming with their phones, and if it made it water resistant, but I guess not. Oh, well, live on. Okay, well, you know what?
We'll send that to research development.
I think you should. Make it totally waterproof, okay? So you also have cases for a couple of the tablets, too. I mean, that's important as well because of that tablet marketplace with 47 million out there. Again, we'll start here with the Galaxy since that's kind of where we're wrapping on the phone covers. So right now you have it for the Galaxy 10.1, which is a fairly new tablet as well as in addition to your new release.
Yes, absolutely. And that was one of the things that actually at Macworld was really interesting to us was we had, about 60% of the folks looking for Apple pieces. We had other people that said, oh, gosh, I wish you guys made this for Samsung. I have this phone or I have this. And we were one of the only people at the show able to say, actually, we do have these pieces to support your piece of hardware, which was a bit of a unique piece in that we're able to capture both sides of the Apple divide, I like to call it.
Yes. And speaking of Apple, you also, of course, have for the iPad and iPad mini the same type of setup.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Now, just out of curiosity, and you don't have to tell me which ones, okay, but are you looking at some of the other tablets currently, and maybe we'll see some additional units available in the coming year?
Yes, we're always looking at, how can we round out the program the best. So right now, the newest thing that we've launched is the Note 10. So goal number one is to get that out and developed and then start to look at some other devices.
Excellent. Okay, so let's just switch gears for a couple of minutes and talk a little bit about marketing mobile device cases. And I know some people out there have already put some questions in, and we will get to your questions. They are in the queue there, so I just want you to be patient. But let's switch gears to marketing of the mobile device products, because there's a lot of different ways that we can go with this when we go to put it in front of people and kind of get them interested. I mean, you don't want to just say, hey, listen, we can sublimate a phone case, because that's not very exciting. I mean, the thing here, of course, is to be proactive and to really kind of stimulate people about what they can put on there, what works, why they should put it on there, what the benefit is to have this. And being that you've spent some time at these shows, I mean, Consumer Electronics Show, for anybody that doesn't know, there was 150,000 people at that show this year, and it's not open to the public. How do you like that? So, you've just went to two really awesome shows where you were getting a lot of good feedback there. And I think that you said that the top comment was about personalized gifts. Is that correct?
That was the number one comment we heard at both booths was, well, I've been looking for a great gift. This is fantastic for a gift. So really people are looking for customized giftables. In the age where you can find basically anything on the internet, it's really becoming more important to people to have something that's a personalized gift where they didn't, run by Overstock.com and pull something off and get it shipped to your house. Right. People really want to feel like their gift is personalized to them, and this is a great way to do it.
Absolutely. So, I know in addition to personalized gifts, one of the trends that we've been seeing, because I work a lot with the promotional products industry, is traditionally promotional products was about branding, branding products, branding services, that type of thing. But one of the new trends in the promotional products marketplace is personalized promotional products, where someone who wants to give their client a key promotional product, not only does it have that brand, but it's personalized for that client, so that it's more likely the client will use it. I mean, that's the big key there. So, and here's some good examples of how easy that is to do, to be able to go and brand it for the promotional products industry.
Absolutely. You can put, we do provide templates and things of that nature, so you can either come up with a design completely on your own if you have a creative agency. You can also use some of our templates to do a combination of those things and even personalize it for the end user, like you just said, or make it a little bit more general. kind of the beauty of this product is it's really up to you on how much of a deep dive in the personalization do you want to get.
Right. And you can find those templates at ChromaLuxe.com.
Yes, and we also, I'll actually be sending the link for the templates out to the attendees of this webinar. So
okay, perfect.
Keep a lookout for that. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. I mean, everybody likes to be able to walk away with a few freebies, as we like to say, but good quality resources. And that's one of the things I've liked about your company is anytime that we've done webinars together, you guys have had some really good resources to follow up with after the presentation. So there we go. There you were talking about the monogram earlier on some of the personalized gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have spirit products, which is a very popular area, at least in the United States, because we have so many different organizations, schools, churches, clubs. They're looking for ways to raise money. Fundraiser becomes a very key word to use when we're talking about these different groups. Now, typically when we're talking about specifically spirit, you're probably talking sports teams or schools, whereas with clubs and churches, it's a different kind of spirit, especially with the churches, okay? But the point being is people look for creative fundraisers where products can be sold associated with whatever that organization is, and then the money that's generated is going into a fundraising budget. So this becomes something excellent that you can introduce out to some of those clients. You know, I can see, for example, the school that, you know, you have inserts available for the different sports. You know, the football and the baseball and whatever. And then you probably find that the kids are going to want to change it out when each new season rolls around. If the team's winning, hey, you can put champion. If the team's losing, you can put on a sad smiley face or whatever. But, you know, the point being is you can change it to match the mood or to focus on what's happening, you know, highlight things.
They really give you an opportunity to change things based on your lifestyle.
Yep.
And you know, you don't have to buy a new case every time. It's the simple switching out of the inserts that you have at home, where you can quick make a new one. And really, that's the beauty of it, is that ability to quick change and at a lower price point than a traditional 3D case.
Yep. So, you know, kind of wrapping it all up. I mean, it's pretty straightforward on how your system works. It's pretty straightforward on being able to produce these things and then getting people coming back for more, which is that key aspect. The packaging. I love packaging. You know, if you can package 3 inserts, you made 3 times, in theory, 3 times more money than if you just did 1 insert. You know, the concept being is you're, without a lot of extra work, you're bringing in extra revenue. But then you also have the thing where they come back for more, because the fact is, if they keep that phone for a while, they're probably going to come back and get 3 more. If you always sold maybe in multiples of 3, you're getting a little bit more action, you know, on every job that you produce for people. So a lot of great things that you guys are offering there with your mobile device product lineup. Okay, so why don't we kind of start switching gears over to questions. We have some questions there, and I'm going to put on the screen for everybody. Here is my email address. Here's Jessica's email address, as well as her social media aspects, so that you can always follow up with us, because there may be some things you want to learn a little bit more about. There may be some questions that we're unable to handle for you today. And again, we encourage you to follow up with us with those particular questions. So I'm going to switch gears here, take a look at the questions that we have, and we'll go ahead and take some of these things and see where we go. Now, one question that has come in several times, I know that we have a lot of people joining us from outside the country, and that's fine. Outside our country. Let me rephrase that. I don't want to be offensive. From outside the United States, where I'm at. Okay, so we have some of our wonderful international friends here, and the question has come up more than once: do you have dealers outside of the United States? And I'll let you take that. I know the answer, but I'm going to let you take that one.
Sure. We actually do. If you go on to, and I can add this to the email follow-up just to make sure that everyone gets it, but if you go on our website, www.chromalux.com, there is a place that says find a lab and find a distributor. And if you click on that, hover over the map, and it will actually show you which parts of the world are resources for you. If you're in a part of the world where there isn't a resource for you, send me an email directly at jessicap@chromalux.com, and we'll see if we can put you in touch with the closest partner that we can find.
Excellent. Okay. Next question is, how are the inserts secured in the holders or those frames?
There's two different options. Most of the cases are actually a snap-on case, so they pop onto the back of the phone and fit very securely. So you'll actually fit the insert in between the phone and the case.
Okay.
With our iPhone 4S right now, we have a two-part case that actually, it basically pops apart. You put the phone in between it and then secure it back together. It has kind of like a hook and groove piece. But for the most part, they just snap securely in between the phone and then the case.
Okay. Couple of specific questions, specific situations, and what I'll do is just have these people contact you so they can discuss their situation a little bit more. But I apologize to first person. I really can't pronounce her name. Kajursti, that's how it's spelled. I'm sure that's not how it's pronounced. Okay, but I know you have some questions, and what I'd like to do is some very specific about your situation. Like to have you contact maybe Jessica directly with your questions, because it's kind of a broad-based question, and I don't think we can answer without being able to talk directly to you. The same thing goes for Marion. Marion, if you wouldn't mind just going maybe directly to Jessica, you can see your email there on the screen. I think that she can help you with that question and take your comments in as well. Okay, it takes me a minute to kind of scan through because the print is so small on my question thing here. Oh, okay, I see. Here's another one, very interesting question. Now, I realize that you have things in development and you don't normally release what you're working on. I understand that, completely. I do have a comment here that someone is looking for BlackBerry device covers. So I don't know if that's anything you can, comment on that you may or may not be looking at, but I'll at least pass that on to you that we have an individual who says there's a lot of BlackBerry devices in his business markets and is hoping that something might go that way.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, well, I have got a note of that. And one of the things, as we release things, check out our Facebook page and our Twitter. Those are going to be one of the first places that we actually talk about a launch of a new product. And then also, if you'd like to sign up for our newsletter, that is the first place where we launch our products is through our e-newsletter. So if everyone is interested in being a part of our newsletter and hearing about our most recently released products, shoot me an email and just make a note and let me know. Say, hey, Jessica, I'd really like to be part of your newsletter list, and I can make sure that you're on that for next month.
Excellent. Here, you know what? We got something started when I mentioned about the waterproof stuff, and I realize if you're going waterproof, it's a totally different ball game because you have to have something that completely encases the phone. But it is one thing. There is a waterproof case for iPhone in the marketplace. So, I'm just passing on the comment that maybe one day you'll actually create a totally waterproof one because I had a couple of people asking for that. So just thought you should hear the comments. Okay, how do you... Go ahead.
We love to hear what people are looking for in the marketplace. It may not be something that we can develop, today right on the spot, but we're always looking to get better, and we're always looking to hear what is the market looking for. So definitely let us know if you see a need in the marketplace or an opportunity for us to make a product.
Yep, I agree with that 100% because a lot of times it's the sublimators bringing the concepts back to the manufacturers that get the manufacturers to produce new products. So I think that's pretty important. Okay, let's see. A couple of questions about a 3D case versus inserts. Now, I I know that working with some of the 3D cases, you mentioned some of the issues you'd seen, and I have gotten a lot of feedback from people as well that sometimes when they're doing the 3D case, it doesn't stand up to the pressure of the heat press very well, such that the case actually kind of sags a little bit when they're sublimating it, and it affects that image. And I think that's kind of what you alluded to as well. So you don't have any plans for a 3D type of case right now, do you? Just the inserts?
No, we don't, because we feel the integrity of the image is compromised when it does bow around the 3D images.
Right.
So for right now, that's why we've elected to go with the inserts. And what we like about the inserts is the interchangeability of it, so that you're not buying a brand new case every time that you'd like to change your image. You are only redoing the inserts, and it's a much more cost-effective. It's a much more cost-effective position for our end users.
Right. Okay, a couple of questions about how you actually sublimate the inserts. I mean, the insert is a removable metal panel, and if you set it just like you do anything else with sublimation, you go in and set your artwork up based on a template that ChromaLuxe has that can help you, get the image set to the right size parameters. You're just going to print it out using sublimation inks on the sublimation transfer paper. And you're going to put it under your heat press at the desired settings. And I'm presuming you guys may have some tweaked it a little bit, but typically with metals, we're looking at 400 degrees for about a minute with a medium pressure. So you're really sublimating these covers like anything else. And also, because they're small enough, you can put a lot of covers under a heat press at the same time. So you can go ahead and sublimate a bunch at once. You can print multiple images there on the paper and then put them in the heat press and press multiple ones at the same time. But that's really it. I mean, you're talking a minute in press time, unless ChromaLuxe has a different rating suggestion, but pretty much about a minute. So pretty quick. Mm-hmm. Also, some comments about it'd be nice to have a cover that protects the phone if dropped. Would yours actually do that? And I think that it actually would. At least on the, I know you don't cover the face. You're just covering the backside and the sides. But
right. The edges of our cases are actually beveled, so if you put our case face down, your screen is actually not touching the surface. It's actually the bevel of the case that's touching it. I've actually dropped my personal phone on my driveway face down. I wouldn't recommend doing that.
Did you drive over it? I would have driven over it. So.
Yeah. But yeah, I've dropped it face down, and the bevel case actually saved it. So.
Yep. Hey, Dave, I see your questions on the about the UK. Just drop Jessica an email directly, and I'm sure she can help you resolve that. What is the medium pressure setting? Medium pressure for a heat press, there is no definition. I mean, there is. Medium pressure is considered 40 psi. However, most people have no idea what 40 psi is because they don't have a psi gauge on their heat press. The way I try to define medium pressure is that you don't have to put your whole body weight into it to latch it. You don't need a 250-pound guy pushing it down to make it latch. You need to have some basic pressure to latch it, but definitely you want your top and bottom platen meeting up with a goodly amount of pressure. Things like metal, I mean, as long as you have it good and secure in there, it's not going to make a lot of difference whether you have 40 pounds or 50 pounds, 60 pounds. It'd make a difference you had 0 pounds. So, I know that sounds kind of vague when we say medium pressure, but really medium pressure is you have to latch it. You have to put some force in it to latch it, but not your whole body weight. Maybe that helps. Yeah, we got a lot of good comments coming in for you, Jessica. A belt clip for the case would be a nice add-on.
Okay. So, you said a belt clip?
A belt clip. Here's a great question, Edward. Thank you. Especially since I was mentioning professional football teams, or since we do have an international audience, professional U.S. football teams, as our football is different from yours. Is there a danger of copyright infringement with regards to putting pictures of teams and other similar things? If you put team logos, yes, that's a no-no. College logos, yes, you have to be licensed to do that. But when it comes to taking your picture, when you take a picture yourself, it's technically on U.S. copyright laws copyrighted to the person that took the picture. So if you're actually sitting in the Super Bowl and you take a picture of the teams playing on the field, you can put on anything you want. because you didn't violate the copyright. The copyright belongs to you because it's your picture that you took. Now, it might be debatable if you walked up and found just the logo of one of those teams and took a picture of the logo and stuck it on the phone, because that could be construed as potentially misuse of their logo. But if you're certainly taking pictures of teams, you have all the rights to put that on there. And I'm not a lawyer, so anything I say cannot be held against me. You see how that works? Okay. But I've studied copyright law enough to feel pretty comfortable with what I just said. Do you put the image up or down on the press? Metals. Now, Jessica, correct me if I tell them this wrong. I mean, typically when I'm doing metals, because the metal is so thin and conducts heat so well, I normally put the metal face down on top of the transfer under the heat press, as opposed to almost everything else where I put the sublimatable item face up on the bottom plat and then put the transfer on top. But with metals, I normally have it the other way. But you tell me if that's right or wrong.
That's the way that I've done it.
Okay.
I think if you find a way that's working for you, then go for it. But typically, that's the way that we've done it as well.
Okay. What is the difference between white gloss and clear gloss?
Okay, that's a great question. The white gloss is just exactly what it sounds, a white gloss. So when you're looking at the case, well, excuse me, the insert, it looks like it's a white. When you look at the clear gloss, you're actually able to see the aluminum grain through the clear gloss.
Okay.
So that the white gloss produces a true to color reproduction, and the clear gloss has an aluminum sheen to it, because where it would normally be white, you can actually see the aluminum through it.
Cool. Have you ever experimented with putting rhinestones on phone covers? I'm not sure you guys would have done that, but somebody out there probably has.
That's actually a very funny question. We're actually going to be producing a video relatively shortly on, how to do that. So if that's a person, shoot me a quick email. I'd love to hear your thoughts about that, and we can talk to you a little bit more about when our video is coming out for that.
Cool. Okay, now here's a question. It really doesn't have a lot to do with what we're talking about here. But it's a question. I'll just answer it. What the heck? We have a big problem with cell phone theft here. The tracking software available for cell phones. You know what? Most of these phone companies offer that. I mean, if you try to put something like, what they call it, geotagging into a phone cover, somebody just takes off the phone cover. It doesn't help you. But as far as the actual phone itself, people should be aware that most cell phone companies have tracking capabilities. So if a phone's lost or stolen, you can go online and find it immediately. That, and I just putting that out there for people to be aware of, because you should be aware of that. Missed the beginning. Will you have this on your site for viewing later? Absolutely. We will have this webinar available on the Sawgrass site, and I don't know if ChromaLuxe, I'll make a copy available to ChromaLuxe as well, and they can post it if they wish, but we'll have it available on the Sawgrass website, which is sawgrassinc.com, and you go there, click on Education Events, then click on Webcasts, and then click on Log in to watch videos, and that's the portal to get you in. You do have to register the first time that you're there. Hey, you know what? I was right. Dan just came in and says we've blinged out an iPhone case from ChromaLuxe. So, Dan, you should be talking to Jessica.
All right.
Whew. Okay, there's so many questions here. Yeah, remember, anytime you have a question, because I know some of you have some specific questions for Jessica, just drop her an email. And if you have some for me, just drop me an email. That'll probably help there. A lot of people have been asking about suggested retail pricing on phones. Do you have any recommendations in that range?
What I'll do is I'll give ranges of where I've seen them retail for.
Okay.
Ultimately, that is up to the retailer themselves. I have seen them range from about $19 to about $29.99. And that depends, A, on your customers, B, I think also what part of the country you're in, and C, what type of insert package you're going to sell along with it.
Yeah. And
As far as suggestions for that, I would say shoot me an email, and I'll actually forward that along to one of my colleagues, Brad Sidio. He can speak to that a little bit more, I guess, intelligently than I can.
you know, I'm the guy that if you go to enough of my webinars, what I preach, you know, I teach pricing webinars, but they're really not about price as much as they are figuring out what it costs to produce something when you take into account all the factors, and then using that to help you to, you know, determine a baseline for pricing. I mean, pricing at the end of the day comes down to marketing. Pricing is not so much a mathematical formula as a function of marketing. It's only worth what someone will pay for it. Your job is to raise people's perceived value of an item to a level that works for you, rather than dropping your price down to an ill-conceived perception of value on their part. And you know, a lot of times we're competing with cheaper products, and the question is to say, what is different about this such that the perceived value is higher? You know, and a big thing like personalization, you can't go to Walmart and get personalization. You know, and if you go to a lot of people are using Skinit, because Skinit makes basically decals that you stick on phones. But any problem with a decal is, number one, it peels and scratches off and whatnot. Number two is if you try to use a company that will put your own personalized photo or whatnot on there, you're really at the mercy of that company to be able to reproduce it the right way. And a lot of those decal products don't reproduce photo images that great. So you actually get a lot better quality when you're using something like a ChromaLuxe panel and sublimation, because sublimation doesn't scratch or peel unless you get out a hammer and a chisel and try to make that happen, you know, for the most part.
Exactly.
So it's always about, when we're pricing it out there, look for different markets, look for that uniqueness, that factor that makes yours more worthwhile. I mean, why do we sell a performance apparel shirt for so much more money than we just do a 100% cotton t-shirt or 50-50? Because of all the benefits that you get with performance apparel that you don't get with the others. Looks like a t-shirt, but it's really a lot more. And that's the thing you really want to hit home on, is figuring that out. If it's a fundraiser, you got to work with understanding that your margins are probably going to be smaller because these people have to make money too. And you have to, again, what is the catch that makes people willing to pay the price point that you need? And it varies by geography, varies by market, varies from town to town. So.
And to your point, sorry to interrupt, but I think also too is don't price yourself low out of the market. You know, just because there is someone that may have a cheaper product, it's typically cheaper for a reason. We've seen some other companies that have aluminum inserts, and at first glance they look like ChromaLuxe, but give them a week out in your pocket, in your purse, and the image is scratching off, the case is bending or breaking or flaking. Ours don't do that. So make sure that when you are pricing it, like Jimmy said, it's not a price point, it's the perceived value of your product, and what type of value add are you doing by personalizing it. To me, I think that's a huge value, and it's worth it. So
Right.
Make sure that you're really conscious of that as you go to price your options.
You know, I mentioned it with promotional products. Personalized promotional products are hot. You know what? They sell for a whole lot more money than just a standard promotional product, because it has the personalization added to it. You know, for you and me doing sublimation, it's just a matter of dropping a name in, setting up a template and putting name drops. Not all that hard. But on the outside, because it's been personalized, it definitely makes the value higher, and you want to push that point and really get some markup out of that type of thing. Okay, there's a question. What is the Note 10 from Galaxy? That is basically a tablet. Let's see. Are the ChromaLuxe cases U.S. made?
We make some of our components actually in Asia, and then our ChromaLuxe is made in-house.
Oh, here's a great quote here. Don't defend your price, support your value.
I think that is incredibly on point.
Does the ink change the quality of the image transferred? Which ink gives the best quality transfer? Well, you're talking to somebody from Sawgrass, so of course it's Sawgrass ink. But you know what? Going beyond that, okay, just forget that for a minute. Really, I was doing a seminar recently where somebody brought us, it was actually a ChromaLuxe panel. It wasn't one of the phone panels. It was another ChromaLuxe piece. And they had sublimated, and they were very unhappy with the color and that they had gotten. And after asking them a lot of questions, because I didn't think to ask him the first question, what ink did you use, I found out that he was not using one of the Sawgrass inks. And when we worked with them further and reprinted it using the Sublimation ink, the difference was astounding. So you want to be careful of that, because there are some other people out there around the world whose inks may not be equivalent to what we're able to do. And at Sawgrass, we focus very hard on having inks that do give us the eye-popping color, the clarity, and that we're looking for, so that we consistently get a good image. It's one of those things where invest in a good heat press, a good printer, good ink, and good products, and you'll always get a good output. You change anything in the formula, you can totally mess your output up. I would suggest the Sublimation ink if you're going to be getting into sublimation, and we have it available for different printers. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there. There are a few other questions. A lot of them are really kind of specific, I think, for Jessica. So if you didn't get your question answered, how about just drop a note to either Jessica or myself, or anything else that comes to mind, because that way we can work closer to you, because a lot of these other questions are very specific to a situation. And I think it would be better if we had a little bit more information. So please drop those, a line, and we'll be glad to get back to you. So I'm going to go ahead and wind it down here, and I really want to thank you, Jessica, for coming out, because it's good to find out what the new products are, and it's good to hear from somebody that's got that firsthand knowledge of those products. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for having us. As always, Sawgrass is a wonderful partner for us. So. And kind of just quick to your point about the inks, is one of the things you always need to remember is quality in, quality out.
Very good. Excellent point. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up here. We appreciate everybody coming out. This video will be available online on the Sawgrass site probably by tomorrow afternoon, and we'll give a copy over to ChromaLuxe. If they wish to put it somewhere, they can. If not, you can always find it on the Sawgrass site. Again, thank you, Jessica. We look forward to having you out for some additional webinars as we go through the year, and thank you everyone else for coming out, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.